In today's business environment, growth rarely comes from doing more of the same within the same borders. Markets mature, competition intensifies, and margins compress. For companies seeking the next phase of expansion, the question is no longer whether to internationalize, but how strategically they do it. Internationalization is not simply about selling products in another country. It is a fundamental transformation of how a company thinks, operates, competes, and creates value. In this episode, we will explore why internationalization is critical for advanced business growth, what strategic advantages it unlocks, and how companies can approach it intelligently. 1. Domestic growth has structural limits. Every domestic market eventually reaches saturation. Even highly innovative companies encounter structural ceilings. Limited customer base. Competitive price pressure. Slower demand growth. Regulatory constraints. A business that relies solely on one national market is vulnerable to economic cycles, policy shifts, and market maturity. Internationalization removes this ceiling. By expanding geographically, a company multiplies its total addressable market. A product that has already proven product-market fit domestically can often be scaled globally with far greater upside. Consider this. Many global companies generate over 60 to 80% of their revenue outside their home country. This is not accidental. It is strategic. Global expansion allows firms to transform from market participants into global competitors. 2. Diversification of revenue and risk. Internationalization is one of the most effective risk management strategies available to a company. Economic downturns rarely affect all regions simultaneously. When one market slows, another may be growing. Operating across multiple regions allows companies to diversify. Economic exposure, currency risk, regulatory environments, consumer demand cycles. For example, if demand weakens in one region due to recession or political instability, revenue streams from other markets can stabilize overall performance. In other words, internationalization creates economic resilience. Companies that operate globally are structurally better protected against local disruptions. 3. Access to larger talent and innovation ecosystems. Internationalization is not only about markets. It is also about access to talent, technology, and ideas. Different regions specialize in different capabilities. Silicon Valley in technology and innovation. Germany in advanced manufacturing. Singapore in logistics and financial services. Northern Europe in clean technology and sustainability. Expanding internationally allows companies to plug into these ecosystems. They can build distributed teams, tap into specialized skills, and accelerate innovation. The most competitive companies today are globally integrated organizations, not geographically isolated ones. Innovation thrives where ideas cross borders. 4. Economies of scale and competitive advantage. Scaling across multiple markets allows companies to unlock economies of scale. These include lower production costs per unit, more efficient supply chains, greater bargaining power with suppliers, increased marketing efficiency. When companies operate internationally, they spread fixed costs, such as research, development, and technology, across larger revenue bases. This allows them to compete more aggressively on pricing, quality, and innovation. In many industries, scale determines survival. Companies that remain local often struggle against global competitors who operate with vastly greater resources and cost efficiency. Internationalization therefore becomes a defensive strategy as much as a growth strategy. 5. Brand power and global positioning. International presence dramatically enhances brand credibility. A company that operates in multiple markets signals reliability, quality, institutional strength. Global brands benefit from powerful perception advantages. Customers, partners, and investors tend to trust companies that demonstrate international reach. This brand amplification creates a virtuous cycle. Global presence strengthens brand equity. Stronger brand equity attracts more customers and partners, which accelerates further expansion. Internationalization therefore contributes not just to revenue, but also to strategic positioning. 6. Learning from diverse markets. One of the most underestimated advantages of internationalization is learning speed. When companies operate in multiple markets, they gain exposure to different customer behaviors, regulatory environments, and competitive dynamics. This diversity creates powerful feedback loops. Innovations developed in one market can be transferred to others. Example: a digital payment solution launched in Asia might later transform European operations. A sustainability model developed in Scandinavia might influence global manufacturing strategy. International companies evolve faster because they are constantly absorbing new knowledge. This creates organizational intelligence that purely domestic companies rarely achieve. 7. Strategic entry models. Of course, internationalization is not simply about opening an office abroad. Professionals must carefully choose entry strategies, including exporting, strategic partnerships, joint ventures, licensing and franchising, direct foreign investment, acquisitions of local companies. Each approach carries different levels of risk, capital requirements, and control. For early internationalization, many firms begin with exporting or distribution partnerships. As the market proves viable, they gradually deepen their presence through subsidiaries or acquisitions. The key principle is strategic sequencing. Global expansion should be deliberate, data-driven, and aligned with long-term corporate strategy. 8. Cultural intelligence. The hidden competitive edge. One of the most critical, yet often overlooked factors in international success is cultural intelligence. Business practices, negotiation styles, and customer expectations vary dramatically across regions. Companies that attempt to replicate domestic strategies internationally often fail. Successful international firms adapt marketing messages, pricing structures, distribution channels, product features. They develop deep understanding of local markets while maintaining global strategic coherence. In the modern global economy, cultural intelligence is not a soft skill. It is a core leadership capability. 9. The digital acceleration of internationalization. The digital economy has dramatically lowered the barriers to global expansion. Today, companies can reach international markets through commerce platforms, digital marketing, remote service delivery, cloud-based operations. A company can build a global customer base long before establishing a physical presence abroad. This has fundamentally changed the growth trajectory of modern businesses. Digital-first companies often become international by default, scaling across borders within the first few years of operation. For professionals and entrepreneurs, this means international thinking must start much earlier in the business lifecycle. Internationalization is no longer a luxury reserved for multinational giants. It is increasingly a strategic necessity for companies that aspire to long-term growth. It expands market potential, diversifies risk, it accelerates innovation, strengthens competitive advantage. But perhaps most importantly, internationalization forces organizations to evolve. It pushes companies to think bigger, operate smarter, and compete at a higher level.